My name is Beverly. I'm 62 years old. I'm the mother of 2 sons and the grandmother of 3. In August of 2009, I became ill. I thought it was an ordinary cold, treated as such. Went to the doctors. He told me it wasn't a cold, it was bronchitis. He put me on 750 milligrams of Levaquin. And after 8 days of being on the medication, I wasn't getting any better. My temperature was up to 104. I called the service. They recommended that I get over to the emergency room immediately, which I did. He did suspect pneumonia, which was exactly what it was. They admitted me into the hospital. But upon doing blood work, they discovered that my blood count was a 7. Now, a normal blood count for someone my age is between 11.5 and 14. So, which meant I needed an immediate blood transfusion, which they had given me 3 units. And they did some more testing. He found out that I had an ulcer. It wasn't bleeding at the time, but he contributed, the drop to that. I was discharged from the hospital on October 3rd, and I had a regular appointment on October 13th. Went back to see him. He said everything looked great. Did some more blood work, and about an hour later, the nurse called me and told me I needed to get back to the hospital immediately, that my blood count again had dropped to 7, and I needed an immediate blood transfusion. Well, confused, I went to the hospital. I had no idea what was going on at that point. They recommended doing a bone marrow biopsy, which they did on October 19th. It took about a week for the results to get in, and I can't tell you how nervous, if anybody out there was waiting for tests, how nerve-wracking it is not to know what's going on. So I was pretty scared. When the biopsy came in, it was very inconclusive. They thought I had MDS, which is myelodysplastic syndrome, or it could be a bacteria or toxin. They weren't sure. At that point, I was sent over to the Moffitt Cancer Center for more testing. I have also been to Johns Hopkins. I have also been to MD Anderson Clinic. I have also seen 36 hematologists out of Miami. No one has any idea what I have. The only recommendation they had for me was chemotherapy and bone marrow transplant, which is a horrific treatment. They had no idea if I was even going to survive. And at that point, I asked them, why would you even consider such a treatment as that when I don't have cancer? You have no idea what I have. I have very slim chance of surviving. Why would you do that? Their answer to me was very shocking. They said that's all they had to offer. And it's like, take it or leave it. Needless to say, I left it. I have had blood transfusions every month for 3.5 years. I do have Medicaid. In talking to my sister 6 months into this ordeal that I've been through, she said that she had a friend that had pretty much the same symptom as me, and her doctor had put him on a drug called Procrit. So I went in to my doctor and asked him, why was I not given that drug? Why would that not work? Well, his answer to me was, well, I don't know if it would, and I don't know if it wouldn't. Let's just give it a try. So I was on that drug for 7 months, which cost Medicaid $25,000 a month, and with 0 results. Then he put me on another drug called Aranesp, which I was on that drug for about 11 months, 0 results. And so he removed me off of all those drugs. But into the interim, the hemoglobin is its critical issue, and I will die without the transfusions that I do have to go through every month. But the problem right now is because due to the miscalculations of my care doctor, Dr. Robert Kessel, he is the head of the Cassidy Cancer Center. He never tested the iron in my body often enough. And after 18 months, I got tested again with the iron, and he discovered that my level was 1500. But the disturbing part was when he told me that that really wasn't an accurate reading because the laboratory couldn't go past 1500, which made no sense to me. Medicaid probably has paid the hospital probably around $440,000 for the blood transfusions. $25,000 a month for the Procrit, for the Aranesp. I mean, unbelievable amounts of money. And the white coats really don't take any responsibility for their errors or their misdiagnosis. 2 months ago, I spent the week with my sister, and I had a dream. And a voice came to me, and I know that this was the voice of God, who said to me, if I wanted to be healed, I needed to go into a hyperbaric chamber. The voice also said that I had a story to tell, and people needed to hear this story. Now, not knowing what a hyperbaric chamber was, I immediately got on the internet, I Googled it, and I found a clinic in Zephyr Hills. I contacted the owner of that clinic, and I told her what I'd been going through, and she said that the hyperbaric chamber would absolutely help. I was amazed to find out the components that the hyperbaric chamber is actually used for and approved in Europe, but not approved here. Some of the diseases that the chamber helps, it's lupus, ALS, brain injuries, strokes, multiple sclerosis, fibromyalgia, severe anemia, which is me. So I asked her what would entail the treatments. She recommended at that point 40 dives. They were $110 a dive, which would come to $4,400, which I didn't have. After you complete your 40 dives, you have to wait 30 days actually to get back into the tank because a process called angiogenesis sets in. Angiogenesis is a process where everything in your body gets reborn. Every stem cell, every red blood cell, white cells, tissues, everything. I called a friend of mine because I desperately needed help. I knew I needed to get in that tank if I had any chance of surviving. He had spoke with the owner. He agreed to pay for everything, all 3 treatments. With that, he told her that he had funds that he had to move, and talked to Stephanie, and Stephanie was so kind to let me begin my treatments. My last transfusion was January 17th, and I was a 5.8. My iron level was 4,567, and they tested me the next day. My blood count was 8, which you usually go up around 3 points. I didn't this time, but that's just the way this disease is. But the iron level was 4,567. I went into the chamber on the 22nd of January, and I was almost finished with the 40 dives. I was to complete the dives on February 19th. On February 18th, Stephanie had called me, told me that the gentleman who was supposed to pay for the treatments never did. She couldn't allow me to finish the 2 dives, and now I owed her $4,180, which I didn't have. On that evening, I became very ill. I was rushed into the hospital, and because of all the iron that has been in my system for such a long time, I was bleeding internally. My hemoglobin was down to 4. I needed 5 units of blood. But upon testing the iron level dropped to 1,500. That was amazing to me. At that point, I was released from the hospital on February 22nd. I just went in for testing last week on March 19th, and to my ultimate surprise, my hemoglobin hadn't dropped a point. I was still an 8, and that has never, ever happened in all the 3.5 years that I've been going through this ordeal. The bad news was that the iron went back up to 3,000. So I knew I needed desperately to get back into this tank. Professing to be wise, the doctors have become fools. We all agree that our healthcare system in this country is badly broken. The FDA Holocaust Museum, as I call it, filled with millions of people who have died from FDA-approved drugs. I knew that the government wasn't there to help me. We need to basically take care of ourselves, and that is why I'm asking for help. I am dying without this treatment. I desperately, desperately need to get back into the tank. All the iron is causing my organs to rot from the inside out. I need 2 more treatments of $4,400 each. And what we can't do alone, we can do together. And I thank you for saving my life. And please help